Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our expert Q&A on Microsoft 365 and our data model. Today, we'll be covering a number of topics related to people and how we model them through Microsoft Graph and within Microsoft 365. And I'll be joined by a number of my colleagues who will introduce shortly. Before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping. So what to expect? The meeting chat allows you to ask questions, so please send your questions through, vote up the questions that have already been asked that you'd like to see done. Post anonymously, or you can use your name. The questions will appear once we approve them, and this is for your safety and also for ours. The experts on the call will answer verbally, but we'll also be answering some questions in the chat as well. Where we can, we'll answer all of the questions. If we need to, we'll only answer the best or most popular questions to save some time. So the session is recorded, so you don't need to record it yourself. You'll be able to download it after the fact. Please help our moderators. Don't spam the chat with unnecessary or irrelevant content. And we'd also like you to adhere to the Microsoft Code of Conduct, which I will paste into the chat in a few moments. Okay, with that, I'd like to introduce everybody on the team. My name is Kevin Bellinger. I'm an architect on the People Services team in Oslo, Norway, and we're joined today by a number of my colleagues. I'm going to hand over to Christopher Hallen, and he's going to introduce himself.
My name is Christopher Haugen. I'm a software engineer on the People Services group, working on the profile and profile images part.
Great, thanks. Sarah, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Sara Bergman. I'm also an engineer in the People Service team in Oslo, Norway. All right, so before we dive into the Q&A section of this meeting, we thought we would share a short history of the profile service that we own. Previously in Microsoft, there used to be many isolated profile services. A lot of experiences had their own source of profile data and profile images. This obviously leads to inconsistencies for our users, and it is rather annoying if you have to change your profile picture in every single experience to actually change your profile picture. So 3 or 4 years ago, our team was founded with the goal of building a modern profile service. We wanted to build APIs, which were the single source of truth for all your user-related profile data and your profile images. We are in a different place now than what we were when the team was founded all those years ago, and our one-stop shop's APIs for profile data and profile images have been in production for a few years now. So now I will let Christopher talk a bit more about the state of things as of now.
One of the challenges in building a single profile service is to find a way to show the data in a manner that makes sense for every service and every product that we have. So a large part of the challenges that we have had is how do you build and show the data in a modern way that can be used across every service and that is ready for machine learning, for AI, for building rich people experiences on top of it. What we released on Graph Beta last Ignite was the new profile, ready for AI, ready for building rich people experiences on top of it, where you can show your profile as you would like it to be shown, giving in the details about you, your skills, your schools, your projects, everything that you have done, everything that defines you, so that you can really be shown in all of the Microsoft experiences as you would. And it also is ready for having all of the AI and machine learning technologies helping you fill out your profile information, ready with having a confidence score so we can suggest ideas to you. We can suggest things to add to your profile, and we can show you how confident we are in them actually being you.
Thanks, Christopher. While we're waiting for some questions to come in, I think I'll direct my first question to you. If I'm a developer who wants to get started on building applications, where should I go to familiarize myself with what the team has built?
A very good starting point is the Graph Explorer. That will allow you to look at your profile today. You will be able to interact with it as you would in the normal APIs. It also has a lot of documentation about the data structure and the schema that we have, and how you can interact with it, how you can change the profile information in your profile, and how you can expand on the data that we already gathered for you. So that is the best starting point for you to be familiar with our APIs and the capabilities that we have.
Okay, thank you. And if I go back to Sarah for a moment, what is the difference between M365 when it comes to the way that a consumer user or an MSA Microsoft account user is treated versus, say, an enterprise account or an educational user? Am I able to develop applications for all of them using these APIs?
Yes, you are. They are in many ways treated the same. They have the same awesome capabilities, the same rich schema where you can really add any type of information that you want. So in that sense, yes, an educational account, a consumer account, an enterprise account, they are created equally.
Sounds good. And then Christopher, when it comes to the data that I put into M365, where does it become available? Can I, for example, search on it? Does it show up in Active Directory or in SharePoint? Are you able to shed some light on how users are surfacing around M365?
The profile information that you give us will be surfaced in a number of experiences. For example, your SharePoint profile today contains skills and projects. We will both put those skills and projects into your profile for you, and we will also send right back the skills and projects that you give us to SharePoint, so that we keep them up to date. We also use the profile information for populating the indexes in people search, so that the skills that you have is searchable. You can search for an expert on a topic.
Okay, sounds interesting. And throughout Build, we've been hearing a lot about Project Cortex and some of the capabilities that are coming to GA later in the summer. Sarah, are you able to perhaps shed some light on how some of the data that is mined in Project Cortex is surfacing in the user object on Microsoft Graph?
Yeah, so we have a strong collaboration with the Project Cortex teams. So for example, you're going to be able to see information that is added through Project Cortex inside the profile, and that will then be queryable inside the Microsoft Graph. So the profile doesn't only contain data that your experience put into it, but actually contains data from the ecosystem that is M365.
Sounds really interesting. And then Christopher, right at the beginning, when you were introducing the data model that's used for users in M365, you made a really interesting comment around how machine learning and inferred data is also things that appear on a user. Are you able to expand a little bit on what you meant about that?
Yes, so in the profile, we have a lot of different entities, and your skills, the project, and everything that you know. Using Project Cortex and using the machine learning capabilities that we have in M365, we want to help you fill out your profile. We want to help find the skills that you have and understanding what you know, and then suggest them to you, so that we can say, oh, we think you know this, we think you know that, we think you are a good Excel user, so you might want to put that as a skill. And then helping you over time build and create a profile that really reflects you.
Fantastic. And then it's one thing to have data that's fully schematized and that is accessible for, from within an organization, but a lot of companies like to create their own properties or extend on top of what we already do within M365. Sarah, are you able to help us understand some of the mechanisms available to start adding your own organizational data?
Yes, so there are something called custom properties, which we have added to our schema, which is, I believe there are 15 or 16 of them. You can add things like cost center or whatever it is that is important to your organization. Some people have things like personality traits for consultant companies. That is really important for your organization. Of course, we want to be able to support you, because not all organizations are created equally. And you have different needs, so it's very important for us to be able to support that. So we have opportunities for you to add your own as well.
Great, and we're starting to see some questions coming in from the audience, which is fantastic. So Christopher, one of the questions that's come in from Anonymous is whether or not it's possible to merge two accounts either now or perhaps in the future. As a consultant, my customer might be interested in knowing the skills that I have registered in my consultancy when I am doing an engagement for them.
That is a very interesting question that we have been talking a bit about in how can we help you in filling out a profile as both a new employee, but also as a consultant or a user that is visiting in another tenant. So that is a bit of allowing you to create a profile once and then reuse the properties. And there is a lot of ways to do that, and depending on the tenants and what is best for you, there are some challenges also in how we can do it and what we can do. So this is actually one of the places where we really want feedback from you in what would be the best way for allowing you to fill out your profile, to take the content that you have here and then use it in other places. Would an integration into LinkedIn, for example, be helpful? Would that be preferable over being able to connect two properties? They can say, oh, I'm this user in this tenant, I'm this user in this tenant, and then sync the information over. So yeah, please do give us feedback on what is the most useful for you and what is acceptable for your tenant.
Yeah, that's a really good call to action for those live on the call. If you want to provide us some direct feedback on some of the topics that Christopher raised or anything else that you're wondering about, please add some comments or some questions. I'm going to go to Sarah again now. Sarah, you mentioned earlier, you were talking a little bit about users and how they're handled. David would like to know how we handle external users compared to internal users, and I'm going to assume here he means guest users in this context. So if you could perhaps give us a little bit of an overview of that.
I think it goes back a bit to what Christopher just talked about. So that's going to depend on the type of external user. And it is also something we would like feedback on. What is important for your organization? If you have a lot of external users, maybe that is the most important use case for you, or maybe that's a rare corner case. So really, to people in the audience, give us some feedback here. I'm not sure if that answered the question. Perhaps Christopher would like to evaluate further.
External users are, in the same way as a consultant, they're interesting in how they're represented in a tenant and what are the tools that we can provide. Because if you think of it from a rich people experience point of view, you are still you. The skills that you have are still the same skills. You know, if we understand that you are you, even though you are not a user, is the things that we can do, is the ways that we can help you populate a new profile and say, oh, you're still you. If your tenant admin allows it, can we take your profile information or parts of it and then use that as a basis for your guest user profile? Or can we provide you, see it, oh, you're a new guest user. Here's the new profile onboarding experience and help you fill that information out in a super easy, engaging way.
So we've seen that David's expanded a little bit on his question, and we really appreciate that. So external users or guest users in Teams is actually one of the areas we're currently collaborating with the Teams organization on. So we hope to have some good news on that sometime towards the end of the year around things like expanding on the information that's available for those users in Teams, perhaps changing a photo or even setting a photo for them, and just really bringing in a little bit more data than what is currently possible there. I'm going to change gear a little bit and ask Sarah to chime in a little bit on some of the more social aspects that the profile and the way that we're modeling people now allows for. So a lot of people have social accounts. We saw in your intro that you had listed your Instagram account. You know, people have Twitter and Skype and all manner of services. How should we think about that from an organizational perspective in terms of building an experience? Is that something that we've seen demand from users on, and it's something that's possible within the profile right now?
Yes, it is possible. You can, for example, add your Instagram account. Maybe you have a blog that is related to the field you're in and that you think is really useful to other people in your organization. You can put that on the profile and you can display it proudly for people in your organization, or if you're school, if you're an educational users, or for other consumer users. We also have a set of visibility settings. So basically you can control who sees what information on your profile, because maybe you do want to share your super cool blog to some, but not to all. So we have that possibility. Because indeed it is important, and for some organizations more than others. Some organizations really depend on a knowledge culture, and that's a really strong part of their culture. And of course you want to support that by providing them the rich opportunities to put this in the profile so that you can surface it to other users and support their internal culture. And it is something we have seen people asking for. So it's really exciting to finally be able to provide that through the Microsoft Graph beta endpoint.
Thank you. That was awesome. Speaking of things that we've seen customers asking for, Christopher, you mentioned skills earlier in the Q&A, and one of the things that we've heard is it's good to have skills listed on your profile or a language listed on your profile, but you know, in a large organization like Microsoft, for example, where everybody is an expert on Azure architecture or machine learning, it's very hard to tell who is actually an expert and who is just a beginner, or even just wanting to learn about it as a skill themselves. How does the profile and the way that we model users handle that?
That is a very good question, and that is something we have seen being super useful, in that we can allow you to put a skill on a project, on your profile, and then give us details about it, telling you how proficient are you in this skill. Are you an expert on it, or are you a beginner? Is it something you want to learn? Is it something you want to be mentored on or mentor others on? So allowing you to really show off a skill and then give us the details about it. What does this skill mean for you? And being able to, in your organization, say, oh, I want to be mentored on this. I want to mentor on this skill, will allow you to really give a good experience in showing that, oh, we have 50 people that wants to be a mentor in machine learning, and we have so many more that want to be mentored. Let's start matching people up. Let's use this profile information to find mentors, to create an organization that where mentoring is a huge part of it. The skill will allow you to do that.
That's great. And I guess there are probably other aspects of a user or facets of a user where being able to model things like proficiency or an interest in learning a little more about a topic could come in useful. Are you able to perhaps provide a couple more examples of where you're using the ask me about or the mentoring tag that you just mentioned?
It is also useful in finding out who is an expert on an area, or when I'm in a Teams chat, being able to look at the profile of a user and figure out what does this person know about, getting to know people through it. And you're invited to a new set of meetings. You don't know the people in it. Being able to look at the profile information, saying, oh, he's an expert on this area, I can talk to him about this one. Using it is a very good way to build that network in the organization and figure out who knows what, and expanding and learning more.
Great. And then switching topics again, very briefly. Sara, you talked a little bit earlier around some of the different account types. The one question I have is, I have my profile at account.microsoft.com, which is linked to my Outlook account. Is the data that I'm storing and managing there, is that also accruing to other places in M365, like my Skype account, for example, or my Outlook account? If I change my photo in account.microsoft.com, is that something that ends up going everywhere?
Yes. It does. So that was one of the goals when we started this team those years ago. It wasn't that many, so it just feels like it's because I wasn't around at the time. Sorry, a young person joke. No, but totally. We want to have a single source of truth, and we want consumer users are also in the heart. Many people think of Microsoft as only an enterprise providing service, but we are also there for our consumer customers, and that is really super important to our team and to the whole of Microsoft. So yes, if you change your profile picture, it should propagate, and you can also leverage data that you put into your profile on different places in the M365 services that you use as a consumer user.
Excellent. That's great to hear. We had a comment from the live Q&A, which I thought was really interesting, and I wanted to touch upon a little. I agree with you, Anonymous. I think it would be really interesting to be able to take the bits and pieces of my personas from various accounts that I have and sort of aggregate them into a pool that potential employers could search on, or where, you know, even a public directory of sorts. So similarly, creating a standard for presenting skill sets in a CV-like format that's digital is also a really interesting way there. Christopher, perhaps you could touch a little bit on some of the conversation that we've been having with LinkedIn around how our skills map to their skills, so to speak, and the way that we've modeled the schema in M365 to allow for a little easier data portability in the future.
Yes, so the schema that we have is very similar to the schema that is in LinkedIn, which means that we have the ability to take entities from LinkedIn and move them over in the profile if we implement that functionality. And we have seen asks from customers before that having that ability to do a one-time import from LinkedIn into a profile is something they really want, because a lot of people will spend a lot of time curating their LinkedIn profile. They have it over many years. Being able to use that as a starting point to build your M365 profile will mean that you instantly get that filled out profile. You will have that starting point, and you can get rich people experiences from the start, and you don't have to sit there and manually fill out all the fields.
Excellent. And we're down to the last couple of minutes. And so what I'd perhaps like us to finish on is, Sarah, perhaps you could give us a quick overview of where people can find the relevant information and content that is available to them, so that they can read up on about it, how they can make contact with us and the like.
Yes, so we have an email alias. I believe we will display it in the end, where you can send us feedback directly. It will come to our mailboxes, and we are able to read your feedback and take any questions that you might have. Please take this opportunity. We'd love to hear from you. And secondly, if you want to explore more, like Christopher said, the Microsoft Graph Explorer, remember to check out the beta endpoint. And there's also documentation, which you see on the screen right now, which is the profile resources. And there you can really read all about our API, all of these skill proficiencies, how proficient you are in languages, all these goodies that we have in the profile. You'll be able to explore it and really dive deep into the intricacies.
Excellent. And with that, I'd really like to thank our two presenters today. Sarah, thank you very much for taking the time on a public holiday to talk to us. And similarly, Christopher, we really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us this morning.
Thank you. And thank you, Kevin, for taking the time as well, and all of our attendees.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody, for attending. We'll be ending the session now.